Okay, good afternoon. This is the man in the black mask, and now this is Alpo Martinez week. So I have another bizarre story reading share with you from the Post, and it's called New York drug kingpin Alpo Martinez was throwing drugs out the window following shooting. Now, how do you explain shit like that? You know what I'm saying? That's bizarre. You see, I told you yesterday during my live feed that Alpo was still doing drugs. You know, he claimed to have renounced the lifestyle, but he was still in it. And that same lifestyle killed him and got him buried. Made him a target from an unknown hitman or hitwoman. Details of Alpo Martinez's frantic final moments are coming to focus as the investigation continues into the drug kingpin's drive-by shooting death. Alberto Alpo Martinez, the notorious drug dealer who was shot 5 times and killed early Sunday in Harlem, was throwing baggies of drugs out of his truck window as he tried to drive away from the scene, a police source said Monday. How bizarre. About a dozen of the baggies were found on the street, spaced a few feet apart near West 147th Street and Frederick Douglass Boulevard, after Martinez was shot in his 2017 Dodge Ram, the source said. The source said it looks like he was throwing them out of the window because he knew police would be arriving. Holy cow. Martinez had been in federal witness protection program, apparently wanted to evade capture, the source said. Now, Martinez was scared that if he would have survived the shooting, which he didn't, he'd be arrested at the hospital because the cops found drugs at the scene, so he was frantic. Even as his life started to slip away, he did not want to go back to jail, let alone die afterwards. A video of the crime scene watched by a reporter depicts baggies that contain a brown substance strewn on the street. The drug appeared to be heroin, the source said. He was rushed to Harlem Hospital following the shooting, but couldn't be saved. Holy shit, man. It wasn't clear if Martinez had been released from witness protection or if he was just or he was just visiting his old stomping grounds when he was killed, the source said. Photos show bullet holes in his truck driver's window. He was in possession of identification with the name Abraham Rodriguez of Lewiston, Maine, when police arrived, according to cops. The source said he appeared to be using his identity from the program. So, that being said, we may never know whether or not he had been released from witness protection or if he was just plain visiting his old stomping grounds when he was killed. You never know what the source might say. But this is an ongoing investigation. Martinez, who grew up in Harlem, started dealing drugs there in the 1980s and continued into the 1990s. He eventually ran a drug empire that extended from the city to Washington, D.C., where he was arrested in 1991. He confessed to 14 murders before flipping and becoming a government witness. Martinez was immortalized in hip-hop songs and the movie Paid in Full, which centered around his childhood friend Richard Porter. Martinez admitted to killing him in 1990 because he believed Porter was stealing drug profits. Now, this is what Mr. Martinez had to say. Way before he was killed, of course. Rich lied to me about something there was no reason to lie about. I gave him the opportunity to tell me the truth, not once, but twice, he told Feds magazine, quoted by the New York Times in 1999. After an associate shot Porter twice, he didn't die, so I shot him in the head, Martinez said. Now, if I had to guess, that same associate just happened to be Alpo Martinez, trying to frame it on some willy-nilly person with a grudge, when he was mainly talking about himself. So why do you think he did the time? Simple. He killed Rich Porter. Okay? Martinez spent decades behind bars before being released in 2015. Now, this is going to have a lot of people talking for many years to come. The death of Alpo Martinez, the manner in which he was killed. And what's even more bizarre was that Damon Dash is ready to work on Paid in Full too. Yes, you heard first. Damon Dash is going to work paid in full too. And I will read you that story another time. And according to Dame Dash, he stated that he struggled with the film's ending until word got out that Alpo Martinez had been assassinated. So the rest is history, of course. And Dame also stated that Paid in Full is a classic. In order to touch a project like that, you got to do it right. Think about it. If Goodfellas can inspire future projects, so can Paid in Full. So anybody that wishes to do a remake better be very careful in doing so, and don't fuck it up. You understand? Don't fuck up this story. This is a good story. You take a shit on it, that could mean your career. Now, let me tell you something. This whole shit started when Rich Porter's brother, Darnell or William, whatever his name was kidnapped and had his finger cut off, and that bloody finger was sent to the McDonald's bathroom in an envelope, and it had a videotape of him crying for his life. And then that's when Rich Porter set out on a mission to come up with a ransom and help get his brother home, which sadly didn't happen because of fucking Alpo, of course. Alpo found out that Rich might have been overtaxing his customers, and Martinez ended up shooting him. Out of greed and jealousy, of course. And clearly didn't give a fuck about Rich's situation. He didn't. Which if he did, guess what? Rich Porter would still be alive. You understand? And that's where Alpo Martinez's problems mounted when he killed his best friend, Richard Porter. And he killed like 14, 15 others too, and then snitched on him. And he got 35 years, but served about, well above 25. Yeah, 25. From 91 to 2015, that's 24 years on the nose. But if you add 1990, you get 25, of course. But he wasn't arrested until 91, so technically it's 24 years that he spent on Supermax, which is home to such notorious criminals like Terry Nichols, who helped Timothy McVeigh blow up the building. You know, the would-be shoe bomber, Richard Reed, and the Unabomber, Ted Kaczynski. I'm telling you, Alpo fucked up really bad, man. He should have stayed away from the stomping grounds. He should have learned the hard way. Well, actually, he did because he ain't here. But I'm not going to celebrate or lose sleep over it. But I'm just going to say this. Some people are just too reckless. You know, people are so reckless, you can't tell them nothing. And I'm sure a lot of us have friends and family who are reckless and clearly don't give a shit what's being told them. And they don't even care after the shit has hit the fan. And this proved true in the case of Alpo Martinez. His past came back to haunt him, and that's the same past that buried him. And what I don't understand is, why the fuck would you, at 55 years old, go back to doing juvenile shit? I mean, seriously, who does it? He was supposed to be reformed. He was supposed to have renounced that lifestyle, and then he just slowly snuck back into it. I mean, the way I feel, nobody changes for the better. It's all a bunch of bullshit. You claim to change, but you go back and do the same shit. No, you ain't changed. Ain't nothing changed about you. That's not to say, okay, good thing you got killed. No. But it is to say that once you renounce a lifestyle, you're supposed to stay out of it. You're supposed to swear it off. And do something useful with your life. And get out of the old bullshit. Get out of the matrix. And live like a productive citizen. Alpo didn't make one attempt to do that. I mean, who knows? But once he got back in the drug game, he knew he was in big trouble. Once he encountered the hitman or hitwoman, whoever he or she was. But I will tell you this, whoever executed Alpo clearly had nothing to lose and didn't give a fuck if they went back to prison or not. It had to have been somebody Alpo might have pissed off, you know? And just like a lot of you would attest to the fact that, you know, Biggie brought his own death on himself, a lot of you would attest to that. Why? Because he went back to LA when he was supposed to stay out. Because Tupac had got shot a few months ago. And people warned Biggie about returning to LA. You know, this whole East Coast, West Coast shit. This thing he was supposed to, you know, take a sabbatical after Pac got shot. A lot of people blame Biggie for Pac getting shot. That's not to say Biggie caused Pac's death, no. But Biggie got called out for Pac getting shot. Now, don't be surprised if nobody finds the trigger man or trigger woman that smoked Alpo Martinez. And it's also worth knowing that cops really don't give two shits about dead gangbangers. So whoever did this, if they're smart enough, they better keep their mouth shut and stay out of town. That's all I gotta say. You carry out the hit, you could never show your face in the hood again. And that's that. Board a plane, get out of the fucking country, whatever. But do not show your face in New York again. Okay, that's what a lot of people are telling you too. Those that know the hitman. Stay out of the area. You do something bad in the area, you can never go back to the way it was. Don't go back. That's just what it means. Go into hiding. Go to Australia, wherever the fuck you want to go, but do not come back to America. You know what I'm saying? If I had just smoked somebody, the last thing I would do is stay in the place where I committed the crime. I would just get the fuck out. That's just me. I'd run. I'm not gonna stay and wait for some other motherfucker to smoke me or for the cops to lock me up. No. I would get my shit and get the fuck out and don't come back. Especially if I was Alpo and I just smoked my bestie and then just ratted out 20 dozen others. I mean, I wouldn't go back to New York. Stay the fuck out of there. End of story. You will never see or hear me again. I would do everything. Change my name, my number, my social security info, you name it. But you will never see or hear from me ever again unless I am dead. That's the only fucking time you're gonna hear me. Alpo was supposed to be the smart one. He was supposed to get out and stay out of the spotlight. I saw some of his interviews on, DJ Vlad or whatever, and saying he was chatting with this dude in this old block or whatever. And I said to myself, somebody gonna kill his ass one day. Once they find out that he's back in his old stomping grounds, shit gonna hit the fan. Some of you have predicted that Alpo Martinez would get shot. And chances are, you're right. He did. But I gotta admit though, he ruined so many lives, including his own. See, the worst was when he did Richard Porter. A lot of people hated him for how he treated Richie and the others. I mean, Richie was just trying to get his brother back. I mean, his brother had just got kidnapped. I mean, what the fuck else did you expect him to do? Trust me, if I had a little brother or a little cousin that got kidnapped, got his fucking finger cut off, and sent to the back of a McDonald's or Burger King bathroom or whatever, I would do whatever it takes to try to save his ass. I don't give a fuck what nobody say or do. But I want my motherfucking brother back. That's how I feel. I'm sure that's how Rich Porter felt, and he paid the price for trying to help his brother. Well, of course, he couldn't go to the police, at that time, because this was at a time when drug dealers were being extorted and everything else, saying that friends and family members being kidnapped for ransom and what have you. And this proved essentially true in the case of Richard Porter. Saying? His little brother got caught up in this bullshit crime wave, of drugs. Drugs was floating in and around Harlem at the time. And, saying a lot of their parents were scared to let their kids out because of the shit that was going on out in the street. But the one thing that saddened me was that William Donnell Porter, whatever his name is, he got caught up in some bullshit. Something that had nothing to do with him. He was in school, saying he was a school kid that was just trying to do well in school. Just 12 years old, didn't get to see 13, didn't get to see himself grow up, nothing. And his fucking piece of shit uncle killed him like a fly. And once Richie got word of kidnapping, he resorted to desperate measures to rescue his brother, only to run into Alpo and be killed by him. And then fucking Alpo, meanwhile, saying he goes on the run for another year, then he gets busted, does like 25 out of 35 years when he was supposed to be on death row or doing life without parole. And then he gets back out, saying fucks around every now and then, and now he's dead. And nothing said or done is going to bring Alpo or Rich Porter back. This is just another human tragedy. I wouldn't wish this on nobody. I feel like, damn. How is the Porter family feeling now that Alpo is dead? The guy that they once hated. Mostly because, Alpo and Richie were best friends. And then Alpo got his pride and his dignity get him in a place where he shouldn't have been in. His pride and his ego. You know, Alpo had an ego problem, I'll admit. Now, some of you are going to be celebrating Alpo's death and the punishment that he received. But I'm not one to celebrate people's deaths because I wouldn't want nobody celebrating my death. Had that been me that got shot 5 times up in Harlem, I wouldn't want people cheering for me being killed. Shit. But I'll tell you, man, this is just fucked up on so many levels how Alpo went out. And Damon Dash, he's gonna do Paid in Full too. And I'm sure hoping that his film don't get fucked up this time. Okay? I sure hope that Paid in Full 2 does better than Paid in Full 1. Because I gotta admit, a lot of you blame Harvey Weinstein for fucking up AZ Faison's script and film for Paid in Full. Because AZ Faison did mention Harvey Weinstein in some of his interviews. Because he was the executive producer of Paid in Full, and a whole bunch of shit happened in front of Harvey. If you work for a piece of shit like Harvey, let alone trying to get a film financed, you was in big trouble. And your film was at risk. And that's too true to AZ Faison. And like I told you yesterday, Paid in Full would have done better had Harvey and them not fucked with. They had him cut out some of the dark stuff. Because half that shit was true. And you want the audience to believe some of the shit that could happen, not just in the film, but in real life too. That's what movies is about, imagining reality, It's like a spitting image of reality in some ways, especially when it comes to telling true stories. See, AZ Faison did a movie at a time when most black filmmakers didn't get a lot of love, unlike now, especially with the Oscar wins and everything. Jordan Peele winning Get Out, Daniel Kaluuya winning the Oscar for Judas and the Black Messiah, what have you, Best Supporting Actor, after being nominated for lead actor for Get Out. So now, I'm thinking, had AZ Faison did a film like this today, Paid in Full, it might have done better. And especially with Harvey Weinstein in jail, he had little chance of his film getting fucked. But I get mixed thoughts each time I watch Paid in Full. Should this film have waited? Or should Hollywood have left this film the fuck alone and just let him tell a story accordingly? Because AZ Faison wrote a 300-page treatment for the film Paid in Full. But I gotta admit though, Mekhi Phifer kicked ass in the film. He kicked as much ass in Paid in Full as he did in Soul Food and Clockers. Now, I sure hope that Alpo Martinez is in a better place, even though he did a lot of fucked up shit and ruined so many lives. But at the same time, this is just another human tragedy. It could happen to anybody. Could happen to you, could happen to me, could even happen to your kid. What goes around comes around, and what comes around goes around. Now, I'm sure a lot of you parents out there are going to try to find ways to protect your kids based on what happened with the Alpo Martinez situation. You know what I'm saying? You want to look out for your kids' behavior, make sure they're not hanging out with random people and everything that do all kinds of criminal shit out there, because it's very easy for kids to get caught up in the legal system nowadays. And I'm sure a lot of you parents are going to do whatever you can to keep your kids out of the legal system. Kids run into shit every day just like adults. So trust me, if I had a kid, I'd be keeping a close eye on him or her and his or her friends, since they've been known to do some really reckless, bad shit. Not all of them, but some. Especially those that look to prey upon others. They pretend to be a friend, but then they get you caught up in some bullshit, and then this is the end result. You either get killed or you get locked up. So once again, be careful. You too could be next. I mean, what a week, man. Some more shit is going to come out about Alpo. Watch. So, sometime this week, I'm going to talk to you about Damon Dash's plans to make Paid in Full 2. So, thank you for listening to The Man in the Black Mask. Don't forget to like and subscribe and drop a question underneath the screen and tell me what you think about this whole story. Because this is fucked up on so many levels, okay? You know that, and I know that, okay? This has been a fucked up week, especially for the Porter and Martinez families. You know what I'm saying? Thoughts and prayers to both families. And pray that both families can find peace once and for all and stop carrying grudges. So, until then, good luck, be well, and have a good day. And thank you for your service. Thank you for listening and supporting the Man in the Black Mask. 1.